Okay, I want to, first of all, thank for their patience the two Natalias. We're delighted to welcome back our good friend Natalia Kanem, the head of UNFPA, to this briefing, albeit virtually. And also welcome Natalia Vodianova, who will be officially unveiled as the UNFPA's new Goodwill Ambassador. So, Natalia Kanem, I think we'll give you the floor, and welcome back.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to announce that UNFPA, the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency, is joining forces with Ms. Natalia Vodianova, whom we are appointing today as UNFPA's newest Goodwill Ambassador. To name but a few of her accomplishments, Ms. Vodianova is a philanthropist. She is a supermodel. She is, above all, a passionate, long-time advocate for the rights and the needs of women and girls, and in particular, people living with disabilities. In her home country of Russia, where she was raised by her mother with a half-sister who has cerebral palsy and autism, Natalia founded the Naked Heart Foundation, a non-governmental organization that strives to build an inclusive society that is open to people with disabilities and special needs. Her organization, Naked Heart Foundation, is helping to change societal perceptions about the needs of children with disabilities. It provides essential services and support networks to empower children with disabilities and their families to realize their rights, including the right to safe access to important information about their bodies and to sexual and reproductive health services. Ms. Vodianova has been working with UNFPA's Eastern Europe and Central Asia office for the past 3 years. Her focus is on breaking harmful taboos and tackling the stigma that can surround women's bodies and health, cementing her legacy as a staunch defender of women, girls, and those often left behind. She fiercely defends the rights of all people with disabilities to realize their sexual and reproductive health and rights in a safe, inclusive, and accessible space. Now, as the COVID-19 pandemic limits our ability to travel safely, Natalia has embarked on a virtual tour of UNFPA projects around the world, enabling her to witness the life-saving work UNFPA does on the ground to empower women and girls to take charge of their health. And that includes, for example, how to manage menstrual health, even during humanitarian crisis, ending all forms of gender-based violence and peace in the home, and as well our UNFPA efforts to reach people with disabilities with sexual and reproductive information and services. Since she met a fashion representative in the Russian market where she sold fruit and vegetables with her family, and throughout her journey to today, becoming one of the most recognized names in fashion and modeling, Ms. Vodianova has dedicated her time and her efforts to speak up on behalf of women and girls and to speak out against harmful attitudes pertaining to their bodies and health, as she did in leading sessions at the Nairobi Summit on ICPD 25 in 2019. Natalia, we at UNFPA look forward to continuing our work with you in this era of the Sustainable Development Goals. We share the hope and the expectation that every woman and girl everywhere can grow up safely, live in dignity, and exercise for full bodily autonomy, free from shame or exclusion or discrimination. Thank you, Stefan. Over to you.
Thank you, Natalia. And now it's my pleasure to introduce UNFPA's newest Goodwill Ambassador, Natalia Vodianova. Natalia, please.
Thank you, Dr. Natalia Kanem, for this humbling introduction. And thank you, Stefan Dujarric. Dear members of the press, for the last 15 years, I've been fighting to end stigma and taboo in my home country, Russia, and globally, surrounding people with special needs, like my little sister, Oksana, born with severe autism. But being a girl and woman made me aware of another strong stigma, the one surrounding periods and female health in general, leaving millions of girls and women behind. These stigmas and taboos are deeply rooted in our cultures and held there with such an overwhelming power. And it doesn't matter where you're born, in North America, Europe, Asia, or Africa, you will face these issues growing up in one way or another. And a good example of it is that period products, something that is a right for women, not just nice to have, is still not widely publicly available for people who menstruate. It's such an honor for me to become a Goodwill Ambassador for UNFPA, because they're not just talkers. They are, at their core, an organization of doers. Their programming drives their work, and they are among the few that quite literally show up for young people, women and girls, when they need it most. I have witnessed this fact myself through my work with UNFPA, where I met their humanitarian workers, service providers, and clients receiving life-saving services, and heard the various challenges they all face. On one of my trips to Eastern Europe with UNFPA, I met a young woman, Alexandra, who lives in a wheelchair and who spoke about being denied the right to have a baby. This is 2021, and this has to end now. It's important to know that women and girls living with disabilities face double discrimination and are disadvantaged because of both their gender and their disability. Just think about it. Women with disabilities are 2-3 times more likely than women without disabilities to be physically and sexually abused. They are also less likely to report the abuse or find justice, even if they do so. Double discrimination also has a direct effect on health. Women with disabilities, and especially with intellectual disabilities like my sister, are often denied access to healthcare services and information, or it simply does not exist. They face many attitude, financial, and other barriers to healthy and happy lives. With UNFPA at my side, I look forward to continuing my work to tackle the myths and taboos that billions of women, girls, and vulnerable young people have to live with, and raise the standard of women's health and dignity. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Natalia Khanum and Natalia Vodianova. We'll now take some questions. Edie Lederer from the Associated Press. Edie.
On behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association, welcome and thank you for doing this briefing. And congratulations to you, Ms. Vodianova.
Thank you very much.
A question for you. Now that you have a title to go with your past work, where are you hoping to go? What are you hoping to achieve? And what do you think could really make a difference in actually improving reproductive health and rights for women? And are you still doing any modeling?
Please go ahead.
Thank you for your questions. So this is a work that we've been doing together with UNFPA for quite a while, for almost 4 years now. And really, we identified that some issues are so deeply hidden and such stigmatized and taboo issues that we can't even talk about them. And so the first thing that we actually did, and where UNFPA supported me, is we launched the platform Let's Talk. And this platform will continue its work. So the platform has gathered government representatives, also United Nations officials, and doctors, activists from all over the world to really sit down and talk about very complicated issues that I've mentioned in my speech. And not only around that girls and women with disabilities face, but really all women and girls. And definitely when we speaking globally, we went to some difficult places like Turkey, where some harmful practices like genital mutilation and child marriage is still very active and a reality today. And it was a great achievement that, for example, in Turkey, where we held Let's Talk session, First Lady has supported us and for the first time publicly spoke about the harm of these practices and that she does not personally support them. And this is one of the achievements that we count. So from talking, we actually did achieve some very, very real doing, which is, of course, is the aim of bringing up these conversations. When we were talking about issues of women discrimination and gender equality, a very famous Ukrainian football club called Shakhtar has created for the first time a first girls football team in Ukraine. And then also two organizations that I very loved by then, it's UNFPA and Special Olympics International, has met at one of the Let's Talks and then joined forces first in Eastern Europe, and now actually they have joined the forces globally. And I am also on board of Special Olympics International, on board of directors, and I was very happy to see these two organizations working together and now really investing into stigmas and taboos around girls and disabilities, and also addressing the fact that, again, what I talked about, that girls with disability face double discrimination, and many other things that has happened that I have shared previously, but I'm happy to share again. And of course, I hope that we will continue this platform together. And of course, as soon as the COVID ends, I'm hoping to travel and to visit some places where and speak to women and girls and explain to them how precious their bodies are, and that despite of the cultural and religious pressure that they have, it's their right. It's their right to know better their bodies and to protect themselves.
And are you still doing any modeling?
I do occasional modeling, and all my career as a model, I've been an activist for now 16 years. So my career has lasted 20 years. So very quickly on, I have started my humanitarian work because I understood that I have an incredible platform, which is fashion. And we know how fashion can break a lot of stigmas and taboos. We see it in the space of disabilities and inclusion, all kinds of inclusion. Now fashion is actually leading the way in highlighting the issues of certain minorities being left behind. And of course, I do hope that to continue involving fashion industry in my work with UNFPA as well.
Thank you. James Bays, Al Jazeera. James?
I have a question for the Executive Director, if I may. Executive Director, I know you're here to announce this new ambassador role, but if I could possibly ask you, with CSW coming up, with a new US ambassador to the UN presenting credentials tomorrow, the previous administration in the US was seen as pushing back gender issues. What conversations have you had with the new administration, and what are your hopes? To the Executive Director, please.
Well, thank you so much for the question. UNFPA is indeed looking forward to working with the Biden-Harris administration and to working together again with the United States, a founder of UNFPA, to carry forward the life-saving work that we do. We are encouraged that the so-called global gag rule is slated for reversal. And while it doesn't apply directly to UNFPA, we're not a non-governmental organization. Of course, we partner on the ground in communities in over 150 locations with NGOs. Moreover, we actually hope that the perspective which Natalia Vodianova is bringing today, that everyone everywhere, female everyone everywhere, has the human right to bodily autonomy, to be able to express sexual and reproductive health and rights, will be upheld once again at the Commission for the Status of Women. And we are active as co-conveners of the Action Coalition on Bodily Autonomy and Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights in connection with Beijing 25. Happy to give you more information if it would be helpful. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Valeria Robecco, Italian News Agency. Valeria.
Thank you so much. From remotely as president of ANCA, thank you again from this press conference to both Natalia. So my question is, how do you, do you already have like some concrete plans to involve fashions and technology to help reaching the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. Yes, I do have some something that is we are working on right now, both in fashion and tech. However, I really would prefer to wait for all the details to be correct before I speak about it. But you will hear about it very shortly, and I'm sorry that I can't give you anything concrete today. But we're working on. And actually, well, I hope the designer that we're working with is an Italian designer that you would definitely know.
Thank you.
And if I could just quickly...
Go ahead, Natalia.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add that Natalia is a great example of how private sector partnerships are part of the post-COVID reaction of the United Nations as a whole, and UNFPA here in particular, that to achieve 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, we really can't step back. So we're actively looking, in our case, for ways to help influence young people's perspectives on their sexual and reproductive health and rights, and fashion can be very important in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alan Bulcati, RIA Novosti. Alan?
Can you hear me? Do you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question to Madam Vodianova, please. Thank you for doing this briefing. We all know about your activities in Russia. Your foundation, Naked Heart. I just have one question. Do you think that your new position as a Goodwill Ambassador will add anything to your current activities in Russian Federation? If so, then what? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, of course, I'm already, as Natalia kindly mentioned, working on also destigmatizing young women with disabilities bodies and their sexuality and their rights to reproduction and sexual health. This is something that is very, very real, of course, as an issue in my country. And this is something that I'm planning on continuing, of course. But it's incredible. You would think that Russia is a very progressive country, but in some ways there is still a lot of work that we need to do. And just to give you a very concrete example, some months ago, I have posted on my Instagram a selfie with a pad, a very clean pad, okay? inviting people to download this movie that I love called Padman. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's an Indian movie about this incredible guy who has made his mission to make and distribute pads for women in India and to break the stigma around sanitary products. That's something very, very present in that part of the world. And as a result, I got thousands of comments, but not the comments of support and saying, oh, wow, great, cool. Not at all. Comments of hate, as if I posted something like Kalashnikov or a bottle of vodka. And, comments were like, teenagers are following you. What are you doing? And this is disgraceful. This is disgusting. And, if you think about it, it's a symbol. It's a symbol of what needs to be changed, a very strong symbol. And I think that there is a lot of progress happening in terms of attitudes towards menstruation in general, and of course, even period products. We see great change happening globally with these products distributed in schools freely in UK, New Zealand, soon in France, Scotland, of course. This has all happened very recently, right? But still there is a long way to go. And this is something that that's why I joined UNFPA as well, because I want to talk about these issues and I want to make sure that women understand why it's okay to hold a pad in public and that there is nothing shameful about it, and that does not make me disgusting.
Thank you. Thank you. The last question will go to Abdelhamid Sayam. Abdelhamid.
Thank you so much. My name is Abdelhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi, and my question goes to Natalia. I have two questions. First, are you aware of the cultural and religious difficulties you might encounter when you deal with oppressed women in conservative countries like the Gulf states? And what is considered women's right in one country does not mean the same in those countries. And stigmatization of women is different from one region to the other. So are you aware of that and how you're going to overcome these difficulties? And my second question, are you going to address also oppressed women under occupation? For example, some women in Crimea or in Palestine or in Western Sahara or in Myanmar. Is this area among your competence and attention? Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very good and very important question, and one that I think about a lot. I think that one has to be extremely sensitive when going and promoting certain views in countries where, of course, some practices are so deeply rooted in culture and religion, and I have a lot of respect for that. However, this is also very important to speak about the fact that girls need to know their rights and they need to grow up in healthy and safe environment. And this means, I'm not saying that I'm not asking for much. I'm really asking just for an explanation to girls, what's going to happen to them, for example, when they menstruate, when they reach that age. Because 10% of girls in Asia think that menstruation is a disease when it comes, and it's really scary. I am a woman myself, and I do think that periods is something beautiful and something to celebrate. And I have a daughter and sons as well, and I educate my children very much on how important it is to consider each other's bodies as something very special, very different, but very, very precious. And we as parents, it's our responsibility to keep our children safe and healthy. and also mentally healthy. And I think that it's not going to help a young girl to have a surprise period or not to have a ways of dealing with her bodily functions, which is so natural and unpreventive. She cannot stop bleeding. This is the reality. And of course, it's we need to first speak to communities, heads of communities. We need to explain and we need to address this, of course, in a very culture-sensitive way. But the fact that this has to be addressed is a key. And I am brave, and I will go there and I will talk to these men and women, both.
Great. Thank you. Elena, thank you.
My second question.
And the second question is, well, the second question, I really can't answer this because there is just so much I am able to do. I always focus on issues that I feel I understand and I feel I can talk about, and I really like to focus on something that I hope to create tangible impact. And if we spread our efforts too thinly, then we won't achieve anything. But thank you for highlighting this, of course.
Thank you very much to Dr. Natalia and to Ambassador Natalia. Thank you both. This press portion of the briefing is finished, but my understanding we have a colleague from DGC who wanted to stay on. So thank you. James, thank you. And Elena, are you connected?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I understand. Yes. So if you want to go, we can disconnect the other journalists. And Elena, I think if you wanted to go ahead and ask your question in Russian, go ahead.
Thank you. Natalia?
Yes.
I don't know if you can see me. I hope you can hear me. Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте. Во-первых, вам привет из Нижнего Новгорода, потому что я тоже оттуда. И вернулась оттуда буквально 2 недели назад.
Потрясающе. Очень приятно.
И там очень холодно, если вы там давно не были. Спасибо. Я хочу буквально пару вопросов вам задать на русском, потому что я возглавляю русскую службу новостей ООН. Мы, значит, вот в ООН работаем, и, конечно, не могли упустить такую возможность прекрасную с вами поговорить.
Спасибо.
Ну, первый вопрос, если можно. Sorry? Yeah?
Да. Все
слышно? Все хорошо? Да. Ну, мы знаем о вашей работе в области прав людей с инвалидностью. Ну вот ваше сотрудничество с UNFPA, ну, для меня, во всяком случае, это нечто новое. Почему вы решили работать именно с этой организацией? И что конкретно вы собираетесь делать? И очень мне понравилось, конечно, не понравилось, но вот этот случай с вашим инстаграмом, Пэдмен, он действительно очень красноречиво говорит о том, что происходит и что требуется. Если можно, может быть, вы его тоже включите в ответ.
Да, спасибо, Елена. Вы знаете, как я пришла к этой работе, это действительно, когда я приехала в Европу, я понимала, что есть какое-то отношение ко всему, что происходит с моим женским здоровьем, гинеколог, менструация. Это все было как-то очень для меня сложно. Я всегда застирывала свою постель, даже в отелях, если, не дай бог, там ночью протекла моя прокладка. И в какой-то момент я стала задаваться вопросами вообще, почему у меня такое отношение к менструации, почему женщин, в том числе вокруг меня, почему мы не относимся к этому, и люди вокруг нас, как к чему-то естественному, и даже волшебному, потому что это благодаря тому, что с нами происходит, с нашим организмом происходит это каждый месяц, мы можем иметь детей. И для меня, конечно, как для матери, это что-то волшебное и прекрасное. В какой-то момент я стала именно так к этому относиться. Затем, и вот лет, наверное, 5 назад я стала больше работать в этой области, потому что я стала инвестором в женскую платформу Flow. И я была очень ранним инвестором, и меня именно фаундеры именно зацепили тем, что они дали вот эту возможность женщинам говорить на эти сложные темы друг с другом и таким образом избавляться, возможно, от каких-то от такого неправильного отношения к своему же телу. И примерно в это же время я познакомилась с UNFPA, и мы стали говорить об этом вместе, и я уже, вот платформа Let's Talk уже была в процессе. На самом деле я много говорила в прессе, было много про Let's Talk, но не в России, это правда, потому что это более такая... Вот в России был большой такой всплеск именно вокруг прокладок и менструации, когда вот я выложила этот пост, такая вот сильная реакция. Но чем больше я думала об этом, и чем больше я делала, чем больше людей и журналистов, и сотрудников UNFPA и женщин по всему миру, с которыми я знакомилась, чем больше я понимала, что вот это отношение к нашему здоровью, это вот эти вот табу, которые влияют на нашу жизнь каждый день. Они невидимые, мы не понимаем, насколько они серьезно, негативно влияют на нашу жизнь. Например, почему, вот я говорила в своей речи, почему женские принадлежности гигиены, почему они недоступны в туалетах так же, как туалетная бумага и мыло, мы же даже для того, чтобы посушить руки, уже 1000 разных машин придумано, чтобы сушить их быстрее, там такие полотенца и всякие вот эти вот сушилки. Понимаете, это огромная индустрия, это огромные вложения. Когда речь идет о женской гигиене, это вообще никому не нужно, и женщины почему-то должны всегда заботиться об этом сами. Но почему... Так, Елена пропала.
Elena, are you still there?
I think she just disappeared.
Okay, I think that's...
Yes, I'm still here.
Елена, да.
Okay, I'm back.
Почему мы должны заботиться об этом сами? Почему люди же могут в том числе носить с собой маленькие бутылочки мыла?
Elena, you're muted.
I'm trying to unmute for some reason.
Okay.
Yes, I'm back, but I can hear Natalia very well.
Супер.
Thank you.
Отлично. Так вот, мы же могли бы носить маленький ролл туалетной бумаги или мыло с собой. Почему нет? Я имею в виду все люди, мужчины, женщины. Мы же этого не делаем. И для нас это норма. И моя задача для того, чтобы женщины посмотрели на то, что наша норма отношения к нашему женскому здоровью, она занижена. И это вообще везде. Понимаете? Не только вот это как пример. Другой пример — это, например, в спорте, когда в спорте и в медицине на самом деле тоже, когда изучают человека, то женщина просто маленький мужчина. Понимаете? Но это же бред. Какой женщина маленький мужчина? У нас как бы много вообще других органов, и мы совсем разные. Не надо, у нас надо женщин изучать отдельно. Это тоже, мне кажется, важно. Ну и, конечно, любая дискриминация — это плохо. И тут мои ценности очень совпадают с ценностями UNFPA.
Если можно, еще один маленький вопрос, он может вам не очень понравиться, но отвечайте, как считаете нужным. Как я понимаю, вот то, о чем мы говорим, менструация — это лишь часть вашей работы и ваших убеждений. Речь идет вообще о женском организме, о женском теле, о том, чтобы научить девочек и женщин относиться к себе позитивно и не поддаваться тем стереотипам, которые им внушаются и давлеют в обществе. В частности, что нужно стремиться быть такими, как вы. Красивая, худая, элегантная. И вы знаете, что у вас последовательницы раз подростки, сейчас девочки 12 лет садятся на диеты, что вообще кошмар, конечно, да? Вот вы не боитесь, что вот этот посыл, который от вас исходит, от супермодели, что он может быть не очень убедительным?
Вы знаете, мой посыл — это здоровое отношение к своему телу. Как раз очень убедительно, мне кажется, этот посыл звучит именно от меня. Все-таки я мать 5 детей, и у меня, кроме того, что, может быть, мне природа чуть больше дала, я думаю, что мне есть о чем сказать именно в отношении к себе. И очень многие замечают, что я в первую очередь человек, который позитивный человек. Это тоже вот это позитивное отношение к себе, это тоже ценность, которую я хочу в том числе передать женщинам и девочкам через мою работу с UNFPA.
Спасибо большое. Я бы много чего еще вас спросила, но меня сейчас выгонят и заругают очень сильно. Я боюсь. Да, если можно, я бы хотела иметь возможность как-то вас попросить иногда об интервью. Для нас это, конечно, мечта была бы.
Да, вы знаете, в Инстаграме есть имейл Тимона Афинского, через которого вы всегда можете... Вы напишите, конечно, мы...
Все отлично.
Вам. Да, очень приятно, Елена.
Хорошо, спасибо. Будете в Вене? Давайте кофейку попьем вместе. Я сейчас в Вене.
Хорошо,
Всего доброго. Спасибо вам огромное за вашу работу. Спасибо.
All right, спасибо to
Thank you,
Natalia and to
I
Elena.
overstayed my welcome, but
No, don't worry.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you so much for your time. Sorry to hold you back.
No, my pleasure, and we hope to welcome you in person here soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right,
Thank you.
take care. Ciao, bye-bye.
Great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.